Okay, before we start today's story, I need you to understand something about the gods. They are a mess. I know. We think of gods as these perfect, glowing, all knowing beings sitting on the clouds, making wise decisions, and sometimes they are that. But sometimes a god runs away with someone else's wife. Sometimes a jealous husband curses an unborn baby. And sometimes, and this is the one that I think is the messiest, a baby shouts from inside the womb demanding to know who their father is. Such a messy God world. Yes, that happens in today's story. We are starting there and working backwards. Welcome to the How Do I Tell These Stories podcast. I'm your host. Buckle up. This is the story of Budh. Let's set the scene. Swarga, or heaven, the realm of the devs or the gods. Also known as Amravati. There's a town in India called Amravati. I wonder if it is like heaven. Imagine the most gorgeous place you've ever seen. Then multiply that by infinity and add clouds. Every wish comes true there, no suffering, no bad days. It is, by every definition, paradise. But paradise has neighbors, specifically the Asuras, the demons, who live underground and spend most of their time plotting to take heaven or Swarga for themselves. So the devs need to constantly perform sacred rituals called yagnas, which are fires, to keep their power, their land, their divine glow. Without the yagna, Swarga gets dimmer. The Asuras get stronger, bad times. The person responsible for running all these rituals is Brihaspati, the great priest of the gods, lord of planet Jupiter, and by all accounts, an extremely serious, extremely dedicated, extremely, let's say, focused individual. Brihaspati lives and breathes ritual. Morning yagna, evening yagna, yagna on weekends. He's the kind of person who brings spreadsheets to a party. Now, for these rituals to work, Brihaspati needs his wife by his side. Her name is Tara, goddess of the stars. And Tara is not having a great time. Here is the thing about Tara that nobody in heaven or Swarga wanted to say out loud. Her husband treated her like a ritual prop. She wasn't a partner. She was a requirement. Stand here, Tara. Sit there, Tara. Pour the toop, Tara. Essential to the ceremony, invisible as a person. And then one day, Chandra, moon, arrived. Chandra, the moon god. Gorgeous, luminous, emotional, passionate. Basically, the opposite of Brihaspati in every possible way. Where Brihaspati saw Tara as part of the ritual, Chandra saw her, just her. And Tara, who had spent years being a requirement, suddenly felt like a person again. So she left. She eloped with Chandra. She just went. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether that was the right decision. That is a very grown-up conversation for another day. What I will tell you is that it caused the most spectacular cosmic argument you have ever heard in your life. Brihaspati went to Indra, the king of the gods, absolutely furious. I cannot perform the yagnas without my wife. If all the yagnas fail, we all suffer. Get her back. And Indra stuck because, look, Everyone knows Brihaspati is right about the yajnas, and also everyone can see that Tara seems genuinely happy for the first time in memory, and forcing her back to a husband who ignored her feels not great. The Devs stood divided. Some said, yajnas first, feelings later. Others said, you just can't drag someone home. The argument got so enormous that it basically split the heaven in two. Devs on one side, some of them siding with Chandra, others siding with Brihaspati. The whole cosmos is holding its breath. In the end, and this is the very honest of Mahabharata to admit, I guess, pragmatism won. The yajnas were more important than Tara's happiness. Oh boy. Without the rituals, the earth would go dark. So Indra made his ruling. Tara had to go back. A reluctant Tara returned to Brihaspati, and very soon it became clear that she was going to have a baby. So Tara is back with Brihaspati. She's expecting a child, and the question hanging over the entire cosmos is, whose child is it? Chandra's? Brihaspati's? Tara refuses to say. Total silence. She will not name the father. Now imagine being that baby, floating around, not yet born, and the entire universe is arguing about your identity. The gods are taking sides, the sages are debating, and this unborn child has simply had enough. From inside the womb, the baby shouts, I want to know who my father is. Tell me, mother, I want to know. The room goes completely still. Even Brihaspati stops talking, because a baby, an unborn baby, just demanded the truth out loud in front of everyone. And Tara, faced with her child's voice, cannot hold it in anymore. She tells the truth. The father is Chandra. Brihaspati's reaction is not what you'd call measured. He's furious, and in his fury, he curses the child. May this child have no gender, neither male nor female. An ancient binding curse spoken in anger, and we know by now what those do. The child is born, not quite a boy, not quite a girl, something else entirely, something new. The Devs, impressed by the sheer audacity of a baby who demanded the truth before it was even born, gave this child a name and a title. Budh, Lord of the planet Mercury, Lord of Buddhi, the intellect, the part of the mind that knows right from wrong. And Indra, in what was becoming a habit, made a decree. Regardless of biology, Tara's husband raises the child. Brihaspati's name goes on the record. Marriage defines the family. A ruling that will quietly echo through the rest of Mahabharata, but we'll get there. So Budh grows up, and growing up as Budh is complicated. Neither fully male nor female, shifting with the phases of the moon, waxing and waning back and forth every month forever, finding a life companion with all of that going on. Not exactly straightforward. But then Budh meets Ela. And here's where the story gets truly extraordinary, because Ela might be the only person in the entire Mahabharata who is the perfect match for Budh. Because Ela was also shape-shifting. Ela had once been a prince called Sudyumna, son of Manu, the very first king of humans. Very important lineage, very impressive resume. But one day, Sudyumna went hunting in a forest where the Lord Shiva had cast a powerful enchantment, Any male creature who entered would be transformed into a female to please his consort Shakti, who wanted that particular forest all to herself. So Yumna walked in, became Ela, came out of that forest as a woman, and was, as you can imagine, quite surprised. Sudyumna begged the goddess Shakti to undo the spell. Shakti said, I cannot undo it completely, but here is what I can do. You will be a woman for 1 month and a man for the next, alternating forever. The same rhythm as the moon. The same rhythm as the moon, the same rhythm as Buddha. These two found each other and something clicked. They had 2 sons called Ailas, and their descendants became the Chandravanshis, the lunar dynasty, the bloodline of the moon, the very lineage that eventually leads to the Pandavas.
Okay, so we are going to take a bit of a pause because we have a guest here. Mr. N is here today. Mr. N is more rooted in the Indian culture than I am. He knows quite a bit. So, Mr. N, a quick question. The Mahabharata has two dynasties, the solar line, the straight edge kings. Ram, who's not part of Mahabharata, but Ram, a well known god, is a Suryavanshi, for example. Duty, dharma, never a wobble. And then there's this lot, the Chandravanshi, the lunar dynasty. Why do you think Vyas put the whole main story in the moon's bloodline?
Because, the sun is boring. Same arc every day. You can set a clock by it. The moon swells, vanishes, comes back changed. And this bloodline is exactly that. Chandra can't stay faithful. Tara walks out of her own life. Purarvas loses his mind. Yayati keeps saying, just 1 more year. These people feel too much, too fast, and it costs them every time.
So true. The Sun dynasty produces heroes. The Moon dynasty produces the entire Mahabharata.
Yeah, the Mahabharata is not a story about people doing the right things. It's a story about people who are pulled. That's a moon story.
Did you know the word lunatic? Where did it come from?
Now that I think about it, must be Luna, the moon.
Well, it's the Latin root is lunaticus, moonstruck, it translates. The ancient belief was that the moon didn't just light the night sky, it moved people, pulled them, changed how they felt, what they wanted, what they couldn't let go of. The moon has the original force that gets under your skin,
So a lunatic is literally just someone the moon got to.
which is Chandra, which is Purarvas, which is the entire dynasty. They aren't broken, they're just completely constitutionally lunar. Vyas must have named it on purpose.
Come to think about it, the werewolves is the same fear. The full moon doesn't just make you irrational, it turns you into something you can't control. And Buddha changes with the moon phases. 3,000 years before Europe wrote the werewolf down, the Mahabharata had already built that transformation into a person. Beat that.
So true. So the lunar dynasty is brilliant, feeling people, pulled by the moon, pulled by love, pulled by wanting. They can't do anything by half.
And they produce the most important story ever told.
The Chandravanshi dynasty has officially begun. Let's follow it all the way to Kurukshetra.
So, a god who ignored his wife, a wife who ran away with the moon, a cosmic custody battle that split heaven into two, a baby who shouted from inside the womb demanding to know who their father was inside the womb, and somehow that turned out to be completely on brand for everything followed. A shapeshifter who found another shapeshifter, And somehow, from all of that chaos comes the entire lunar dynasty, the Pandavas, the Mahabharata. I mean, where do you even start with the story? It starts with a neglected wife and ends with the foundation of the greatest epic ever written. 3,000 years, someone sat down and said, yes, this is where it all begins. A love affair, a womb shout, a forest that turns men into women. This is the root. See you next time. And remember, behind every story is a story.